Well, good morning, Leapers. Today I'm in Herradura, Costa Rica. Yeah, it's the home of Los Sueños Marina. Not that you would care if you're a cruiser, because this marina doesn't really court cruisers. It is a charter fishing marina. I mean, if we go outside, take a look at this. Take a look at the marina over here. I mean, there's not a single sailboat in there. It's all like Hatteras style fishing boats, and you can see they're all in the morning, they all just leave and they go do they make their money and they come back. So let me show you this. My name is Rick. I got my sea legs when I was in the Coast Guard, and I commanded a boat much like this one. Today I take my small sailboat on coastal passages in search of adventure. In this season, I'm heading south from Banderas Bay with the intention of returning to the Caribbean Sea via the Panama Canal. Living the pirate life. Yep, me and these pelicans. Yeah, so why did I come here? Well, I could have made it to Capos. The problem with Capos was I was going to get there at night, and you know, I've never been in there before. I don't want to go in there at night. First time, no local knowledge, so I grabbed an anchorage here. So this morning, you know, I got some good sleep. Now I'm going to get underway and head to Drake Bay. I'm going to follow the coast to Capos and then shoot directly to Drake Bay. The reason I'm going to stay close to Capos until I make the shot to Drake is it's a bailout. You know, I mean, anything can go wrong. There's always a possibility for mechanical malfunctions, engine stuff, rig stuff, anything could happen out there. So I'm going to follow the coast to Capos and then drop down to Drake. And that's going to be my launching pad for Golfito, where I'll check out of the country. Let's get the show on the road. All right, so I'm underway from Herradura. Here's what she looks like leaving. Off to the north, and then to the south the bay is marked by this island, Herradura Island. Yeah, all in all, I'd say it was a good stop. I needed the rest. That was a one overnight. Anytime you're sailing solo overnight, you're going to be exhausted the next day. Doing multiple nights like that is really hard. So, you know, if there's a bay and I can tuck in, I'm going to do it. And that's what this was all about. I didn't even go ashore. That wasn't the point. Drake will probably be the same, because really I'm pushing towards Golfito. That's my checkout point. And then from Golfito, I'll be going into Panama to check in. So probably going to go to Banana Bay Marina in Golfito, and I might stay there a few days just to rest. And I've been to Golfito before when I was in the Coast Guard. It'd be fun to explore it, you know, decades later. So cool. Herradura Island. Well, we're coming up on sunset, and it's another stunner. Well, I'm approaching Drake Bay. It's almost sunrise. Sunrise is at about 05:30 this morning. But I've had intense rain. I've had lightning. It's been crazy. You can see behind me there's a lot of moisture in the air. Let me give you a better view too. Yeah, that's probably the darkest part of the clouds. But then that big stretch extends. I mean, it's right over me right now basically too. But you can see the sun's starting to rise over there. I'm not out of the woods yet. There's still lightning in this cloud formation. it seems like once the sun starts rising, the lightning activity decreases. That has me thinking and drawing conclusions about how I may be able to do this more safely. Because this morning I felt it was pretty dangerous. I mean, there was lightning all over the place, and I don't have a diffuser on my mast, so, and I'm the only boat out here, so I'm the only target. Make me a little uncomfortable for sure. There's our sunrise. I don't know if we're probably gonna get maybe a better one once it pops through those clouds, but up ahead is Drake Bay. I'm gonna anchor there for the day and the night, just to get some sleep, because last night was pretty brutal, pretty stressful. From a distance, Drake Bay is covered in fog, mist. But once I'm on top of it, everything becomes clear. I'm in Drake Bay. Yes, the last anchorage before checking out of Costa Rica in Golfito. And it's green here. Yeah, nobody told Drake Bay that rainy season hadn't started yet. You know, there was lightning and storms coming through when I came in and anchored. And I'm looking at the satellite imagery, and I think it's going to be going on for a couple days, so I'm probably going to stay here and just ride it out in this anchorage. If I'm going to take a lightning strike, I'd rather do it here in this bay than out at sea. So I'm just going to wait out a couple of days until these storms pass. If I survive, well, I'll continue on to Golfito. But yeah, the lightning here is for real, and you can hear it. That's thunder. That's thunder. It's going to be over me soon. I mean, I can see the dark clouds coming. It's not a comfortable feeling, but I'm going to need to ride it out, you know, and I would rather ride it out here in the bay. You know, there are risks about being in the bay. The thunderstorm's going to come with big wind, and I'm in the bay, so as the wind shifts and turns at some point, I'm going to have a lee shore. There it is again. And so there's going to be big wind, and there's going to be lightning, and I'm the only sailboat in the bay. That's the other thing. So I'm not excited about riding these next couple days out, because there's going to be a series of thunderstorms that come through, and I'm just going to need to be lucky. I'm just going to need to be lucky. That's all there is to it. The thunder's coming from that direction. Oh, look at the clouds here. Rain. Yeah. Well, I'm resting in the V berth here in Drake Bay, and I'm reveling in my dryness, because you'll remember when I was in Chiapas, me and my friend Marcus, well, we installed a new forward hatch on the V berth, and yeah, she's a dry boat now, no doubt about it. Well, somehow all the lightning that came through here and all the storms that came through here while I've been at Drake Bay, the lightning didn't like my boat, so I'm thankful for that. I got a night's worth of sleep. It's 16 hours from here for me to get to Golfito, so it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That would put me in Golfito tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., which is a good arrival time, good sunlight. So that's the plan. It's time to get underway and do a night transit from Drake Bay to Golfito, Costa Rica. I Here I'm removing the Dyneema soft shackle that I used to connect the anchor chain to the anchor snubber. Then I reconnect the anchor snubber to a stanchion using one of my patented light duty soft shackles. Just like that, we're underway, heading out of Drake Bay. It's overcast. Definitely can't see the sky, but I think the conditions are favorable, so we're gonna do it. So far so good, and just keep on keeping on. I don't know what kind of SOA I'm going to make. I'll budget for 4 knots, but usually I make around 3.5. You know, right now I got no wind, and I'm going 2.5, 2.7. Anytime I'm sailing solo and I'm leaving the cockpit, yeah, I'm putting on my PFD with that built-in integrated harness, and I'm strapping in. Only once I'm back in the cockpit does that come off. Yeah, that's better. With the mainsail up, at least I'm in position. So I got 2,000 RPM. That's usually where I'll run it. I can run it for a really long time there. Normally, you know, looks like maybe there's 2 knots of wind, 2 knots of headwind right now. Because normally I'll make 4 knots at 2,000 RPM. So I'm making 4.1. I'm making 4.0, probably average. And I'm getting 6 knots of apparent on the stem, so 2 knots of a headwind. Yeah. This is when I text Karen that I'm underway. Usually right after I get underway, I'll text her. Yeah, I mean, you know, they always say file a float plan. And it used to be that meant something, like you could go to a marina, or you could go to the Coast Guard Auxiliary, or you could, whoever, you know, is a responsible party in your area, and you could say, oh, here, and they give you a form, you fill out a float. This was when everything was much more formalized, like decades ago. It's not like that anymore. And so my float plan I lodge with my wife. If we lose comms through inReach, well, that's a problem, and she's going to reach out to the Coast Guard from there. So it's always on, you know, and we have direct communications. So a float plan can mean, you know, it can mean a formal thing, or it can mean an informal thing, as long as you know it's there, right? It means something different to different people. Usually, if it's generational, like someone who did sailing 20 years ago, they're going to view a float plan way differently than a person who views it today. I've never seen an official form that says this is a float plan, right? I mean, even as a coastie, we never had a form that said this is, you know, people say, oh, file a float plan with the Coast Guard. What does that even mean? I don't even know what that means, right? So it just goes to show you, right? A float plan is just making sure that someone who is responsible can and is in contact with you can communicate to the Coast Guard when there's a problem, and that responsible person can communicate to the Coast Guard why they know there's a problem. Well, because we check in every 4 hours, he hasn't checked in and it's been 8 hours, right? And he's never ever done that before, right? That would be enough, you know. Going to get much of a sunset today. No, take a look at this. I mean, totally covered with clouds all around me. Soon I'll be in darkness. I don't do much filming once the natural light goes away. I've tried, you know, inside the salon, and it's so hard. And then if you've ever used a GoPro, the iPhone does better. It does pretty good low light, but the GoPro not so much. It really relies on really good natural light. I think it's pretty typical of these action cameras, although you know, I'm using a GoPro Hero 10 right now, and I've heard they've gotten better, but yeah. One of the things I talked at length about with my Uncle Chuck when I was in Playa del Coco was photography and cameras. He was teaching me about aperture and f-stop. You know, I think for me, I need to find something that can do those cool things with the aperture settings, but is durable enough to bring on board Frog's Leap. And so far it's GoPro and iPhone, you know, and the iPhone it's not ideal because it's delicate. The GoPro is more ideal but more limited. So yeah, I mean, if you have ideas about, you know, something that's durable and that can do these fancy things, would be, you know, ideal for shooting video on a boat, definitely, you know, put it in the comments. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. I'll look it up, you know. All right, so I'm getting ready to enter Bahia Golfito, and it's crazy because last time I was in here was decades ago in the Coast Guard, so I'm sure it's going to look a lot different to me. I've got a slip arranged at Marina Golfito, which is right downtown. There's not really a downtown, as I recall. It's a very small place, but you know, like I said, it's been decades, so it's probably going to be totally different than I remember it. I don't think, in fact, I believe this marina was new in 2017, so it wasn't even here when I was here. So my suspicion is this town looks a lot different than my memory holds it. So yeah, here's what it looks like. The entrance to Bahia Golfito from, well, I'm about maybe 1 mile out from starting the entrance. Straight ahead there's some, you can see some masts and stuff. That's the marina. Golfito Marina is right straight ahead. You can kind of see some of the boats already in there. But getting ready to start my inbound run into Bahia Golfito, and I'll try to film as much as I can, get my GoPro set up here, and yeah, hopefully get some good stuff. Thanks for watching this episode of Sailing Frog's Leap. In next week's episode, we're checking out Golfito. For real-time updates, check out Sailing Frog's Leap on Instagram.